You know what amazes me the most? We live in an era when we can send a spacecraft beyond the solar system, when we can 3D print an organ, when we can predict the weather down to the neighborhood level. And yet we still keep believing in myths about our own psyche. Let's start with one of the oldest misconceptions. Schizophrenia does not mean having multiple personalities. That idea comes from outdated thinking, long since disproven. Schizophrenia is not about becoming someone else. It's about a fracture in how reality is experienced, a belief that feels utterly convincing. For example, that someone is watching or has intentions, even when there's no evidence. That belief isn't a character flaw. It's not imagination. It's not a personality. It's a disrupted relationship with reality itself. Now let's talk about another myth that lives comfortably in culture. Being neat does not mean someone has OCD. Obsessive-compulsive disorder isn't about liking clean desks or color-coded calendars. Many people care about order. That's normal. OCD involves persistent, intrusive thoughts and repetitive behaviors performed not for satisfaction, but to relieve overwhelming distress. For some, it's checking the door lock 20 times, even when they know it's locked. For others, it's washing their hands to the point of physical discomfort or injury. For others still, it's invisible. Mental rituals, silent counting, phrases that must be repeated in the mind just right to keep something terrible from happening. And that level of intensity, thinking about it constantly, feeling unable to stop, is actually rare. Most tidy people are just tidy. And that distinction matters more than we realize, because when we casually say, "I'm so OCD about our organized closet," we make it harder for people with real OCD to explain how serious it really is. Then there's bipolar disorder, perhaps one of the most misunderstood conditions of all. It's not mood swings. Everyone's mood shifts. That's being human. Bipolar disorder involves extreme elevations and deep drops, states that can fundamentally alter behavior, sleep, judgment, and perception. During an elevated phase, someone might feel unstoppable, need almost no sleep, engage in impulsive or uncharacteristic behaviors. During the low phase, the world can feel unbearably heavy. This isn't about feeling good one day and bad the next. It's about cycles that can derail a life. A manic episode can include unusually impulsive behavior. It can mean going days with almost no sleep and still feeling wired, not tired. On the other end, during the lows, simply brushing your teeth can feel like climbing a mountain. So when we use bipolar to describe normal moodiness, the weather is so bipolar. My boss is bipolar today. We flatten a complex, serious condition into a punchline. And what about anxiety? We often hear, "I'm anxious," when someone really means, "I'm stressed." Stress is part of being alive. Our nervous systems evolved to handle challenges, work deadlines, crowded trains, social interactions. A stressful commute, a busy day, an upcoming exam. These are stressors. We might feel tense, annoyed, even exhausted. But when the stressor goes away, the feeling usually fades. Anxiety disorders are different. They are driven by relentless what-if thoughts that loop for hours, sometimes days, refusing to quiet down. What if I fail? What if something happens to my family? What if I embarrass myself and never recover socially? The body joins in. Racing heart, shortness of breath, dizziness, trembling. Sometimes it builds to what we call a panic attack, a sudden intense surge of fear, where people often think they're losing control or having a serious medical emergency. Feeling nervous before a presentation is normal. But when fear hijacks daily functioning, when it dictates where you go, what you do, or how you live, that's something else entirely. Now here's a myth that quietly causes enormous harm. Sadness is not depression. Sadness is an emotion. By definition, emotions are temporary. They rise, they fall, they pass. Depression is not just sadness that lasts longer. What often bridges the gap is rumination, replaying the same thoughts again and again, dissecting pain until it becomes a permanent residence in the mind. Depression is a real illness, and it can significantly interfere with daily functioning. Some people experience deep fatigue, struggling to get out of bed. Others lose sleep or appetite. Some lose something harder to explain: pleasure. Activities they once loved suddenly feel distant, colorless, unreachable. I used to love pottery, someone might say. Now I can't even look at clay. That loss isn't laziness. It isn't lack of gratitude. It's a symptom. There are also more chronic, lower-level forms of depression, where someone doesn't necessarily stay in bed all day, but moves through life with a persistent gray filter. They go to work, they show up for their family, they smile in photos. And yet, inside, everything feels flat. This too is real depression, not just a phase. Another myth worth dismantling: the idea that there's one single cause of depression. There usually isn't. There are reasons, plural. Some can be changed. Some must be accepted. Healing isn't about finding one magic explanation. It's about learning what's within your control now. And no, depression does not belong only to women. Women are statistically more likely to report depression, but that doesn't mean men experience it less. Men often express distress differently, through behavior rather than words, and are less likely to seek support. That difference in expression skews perception, not reality. This matters, because if we believe real men don't get depressed, we create a world where men suffer in silence, overwork, or risky behavior, instead of asking for help. Trauma is also widely misunderstood. Experiencing a distressing event does not guarantee a specific set of symptoms. Some people become hyper-alert, others withdraw. Some feel nothing at all. Some develop nightmares, others don't. Some feel strong and functional for months, then suddenly find themselves overwhelmed by memories years later. There is no universal trauma response. And finally, one of the most persistent myths in modern culture: there are no 5 stages of loss. Grief has never followed a neat script. Humans have been responding to loss since the beginning of time, and we do it in countless ways. Sometimes people feel devastated. Sometimes they feel numb. Sometimes they feel relief, especially if someone they loved had been suffering. Relief does not mean lack of love, and feeling relief does not make someone cold. You can be heartbroken that a person is gone, and at the same time relieved that their suffering is over. Both can exist in the same heart. Yet popular culture loves a checklist: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. It's a neat story. But real grief is messy. People jump back and forth. Some skip stages entirely. Some never feel certain emotions at all. That doesn't mean they're doing it wrong. It means they're human. Grief is not a checklist. It's a deeply personal process, and there is no wrong way to move through it. So, what do we do with all of this? If there's one idea I want you to take with you, it's this: mental health myths don't just spread misinformation. They silence people. They delay care. You don't have to have a diagnosis to care, and instead, you can replace them with curiosity. What are you feeling right now? What do you need? How can I support you? Because truth, told clearly, compassionately, and without sensationalism, doesn't just correct a misunderstanding. It can quite literally change lives.